Welcome back. Tonight at 5:30, we are dedicating our coverage here to getting federal workers answers.
It's a turbulent time for current and former workers who once worked at stable jobs in a field many people stay in for their entire careers. President Trump promised to cut government spending once he was back in office, and shrinking the federal workforce has been a primary way to do that.
And as soon as the first layoffs at federal agencies were announced, we saw unions file lawsuits, and now two new rulings are directing departments to reinstate some of those fired workers.
Our John Gonzalez is on the alert desk with a closer look at these developments. John, what can you tell us?
Yeah, so two big rulings yesterday, one in California. A California federal judge ordered the Trump administration to reinstate thousands of probationary employees who were fired from 6 federal agencies. And then later in the day, a Maryland federal judge ordered 18 federal agencies to stop mass layoffs of federal probationary employees and reinstate them by 1 p.m. on Monday. Maryland Attorney General Anthony Brown says President Trump did not give a 60-day notice as required by law. Our partners at WTOP, they report that probationary workers should expect some sort of notification if they haven't already received it. And this could be appealed all the way to the Supreme Court.
All right, John, thank you. More than 1,000 federal workers impacted by layoffs or furloughs got one-on-one attention in D.C. today. The district hosted a job fair that had everything from unemployment assistance to resume help. Our 7 News' Rebecca Turco takes us inside.
The work I did at HHS is here.
Khalil Ali is on the job hunt.
I think the work I did at USAID too is applicable as well because it's a lot of coordination.
He lost his dream job at USAID unexpectedly as part of the Trump administration's efforts to cut down the federal workforce.
So the way it happened was so sudden with no warning. So we were locked out of our emails. There was no communication of why or what happened. And then we learned that they placed us on admin leave. And then a few weeks later, we all got termination notices, just mass termination notices, hundreds of us.
It's been a lot these past few weeks. He says he's looking for jobs every day.
The stress is unreal. It's like unlike anything I've ever been through.
Khalil's story is just one of many. That's why the district put together this job fair for impacted federal workers.
So we're glad about the turnout.
Charles Hall heads DC's Department of Human Resources. He says the roughly 60 public and private employers represented here have jobs on the table. But it's unknown now if any of those district jobs are at risk. Should Congress take $1.1 billion from DC's budget as part of a measure to avoid a government shutdown?
What we do know is we planned accordingly to ensure that this event would take place, and we'd be prepared to offer these positions and to hire based upon the fact that these are available positions at the moment within district government.
That's worrisome to Khalil, but he's feeling optimistic, especially after getting an interview offer today.
It's ups and downs, for sure, but I'm trying to be more positive, trying to manifest something positive.
Reporting in Northeast.
Thank you so much.
Rebecca Turco, 7 News.
And this week, Northern Virginia Community College launched what they're calling Nova Next to offer free help to federal workers and contractors. Unemployed workers will be able to join the program to figure out how skills from prior jobs can be applied to new opportunities in the DMV. There will also be resources for anyone looking to start their own business. We've got more details on how to sign up at WJLA.com. And that's also where you'll be able to find our job list of job fairs for federal workers. We're updating this story weekly with information about where and when these fairs are happening. Victoria?
During the COVID-19 pandemic, the 7 News I-team and Scott Taylor looked into what you need to know about filing for unemployment in D.C., Maryland, and Virginia. We discovered there are going to be a lot of hurdles to jump through, and we spoke with viewers who spent hours on the phone and on hold trying to get help. Scott was able to help more than 7,000 people navigate the process.
And now we are seeing a new wave of jobless claims. Right now, more than 1,600 federal workers, including federal contractors, have applied for unemployment in Maryland and Virginia.
The numbers are much larger in the district. 12,000 former federal workers and contractors are asking for unemployment aid in D.C.
I-team investigative reporter Scott Taylor joins us now to break down the timeline of what you can expect if you were just let go.
Yeah, Michelle, the job fair That was PAC today that you just mentioned in D.C. advertised to help former federal workers find a new job. I got to tell you, the wait time to get an unemployment check right now is at least 21 days.
Everything says active.
Kevin Johnson is an experienced federal contractor, a deputy director on dozens of projects at the United States Agency for International Development for the past 16 years. Last month, the U.S. Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, canceled his company's contracts, and now he's looking for work.
It was very frustrating. My entire career, my entire industry is gone. It affected me, it affected my colleagues, affected thousands of Americans.
Johnson, a husband and father of 2 young children, quickly filed in February for unemployment. A month later, his online application with Maryland's unemployment department still pending every time he checks online, and he couldn't reach anyone at the state's call center.
I understand if they're backlogged, if they're understaffed, it would just be nice to get a status update. And then a month and a half later, not hearing anything was very frustrating.
Portia Wu, Maryland's Secretary of Labor, tells me so far just over 1,000 federal workers or contractors have applied for unemployment in Maryland since January.
I apologize to anyone who hasn't gotten an immediate response. We are doing our best. We are adding more people on the phones. We're augmenting capacity to make sure we can get to people's questions. But I want to encourage people to continue calling. You can also receive service at any of the 33 American job centers around our state.
Maryland, Virginia, and Washington, D.C. are holding job fairs for federal workers. Friday morning, the Gateway to District Careers federal hiring event was held at the Kellogg Conference Hotel in the district. Right now, more than 12,000 federal workers and contractors out of work have applied for unemployment in the district. Maryland and Virginia have set up so far specific online services to help guide federal workers and contractors. And the same services focusing in on federal workers' unemployment needs is happening online in D.C. too.
We do have a website. It's called fedsupport.dc.gov. It lists every single piece of information that you think could be helpful in filing a claim.
The Virginia Employment Commission has seen more than 600 federal workers apply for unemployment. So let's give everybody kind of a playbook here. When you first apply, you go through the process, you're approved. When would you expect some money in your bank account?
Sure. So the DOL standard from the United States Department of Labor is 21 days for the first payment. And we are reaching that for the majority of our claims that come in.
Kevin Johnson finally got his application approved and should see a check in 2 weeks. I posted links for you to track down where you need to file unemployment over on our website. Take a look. For the I-Team, Scott Taylor, 7 News.
Scott, thank you for your work on that. We continue our special coverage on the federal workforce right after the break.
And we're taking a look at questions sent directly to us by you.
And for weather here, helping you plan, helping you stay safe this weekend, especially on Sunday with the storms. 40s your temperatures out the door tomorrow. Look at the clouds and then a little sunshine tomorrow afternoon. We'll be right around 60 degrees. But it's this next weather maker that will bring a strong line of thunderstorms, not just here, but I-95 corridor from New York all the way south. I'll stop it here on Sunday. There's the line around 6, 7, 8 p.m. on Sunday. It's why we've got already a storm alert up for the lightning, the heavy rain, as well as the damaging wind threat. We're back after this.
Seven News asked federal workers to reach out to us with questions they have right now as more than a dozen agencies face layoffs.
And we got this asking if funding for buyout offers is included in a federal spending plan that the Senate is expected to pass. So let's quickly recap what buyout offers have gone out so far. An initial fork in the road email from early February included a deferred resignation option to pay people through September 30th.
And more recently, workers at other agencies have been offered $25,000 buyouts. In the spending bill, there are no specific allocations for these offers or to make any new offers.
And that's because this plan puts broader caps on spending. It does not give directions to agencies on what to allocate for severance agreements.
If you want to submit a question, you can scan the QR code you see on your screen and submit us an anonymous question or concern on the messaging app Signal. You may have to download Signal if you don't already have the free app. We're checking this daily and working to get your answers and everything that you need. We'll be right back.
We're continuing our coverage now of the impacts of cuts to federal spending, including reductions to the federal workforce. Thousands have been fired or accepted buyouts, but this goes beyond job loss with ripple effects in the DMV. Federal contractors have lost stable clients and are now having to make cuts of their own. DOJ, guided by billionaire Elon Musk, is also pushing for agencies to end what they call wasteful leases at offices across the country. And universities are announcing hiring freezes as federal contractors and grants are slashed. Johns Hopkins says it's getting rid of 2,200 workers.
We've seen a lot of lawsuits filed to try to stop or reverse federal worker layoffs. Yesterday, 2 judges ruled that probationary federal workers who were fired across at least 18 agencies must be reinstated. We're joined now on the phone by D.C. lawyer Katie Watson, who worked on several cases related to federal workers. Katie, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much, Victoria. Thanks for having me.
We know the Trump administration plans to fight these rulings that came down yesterday in order to not reinstate these workers. So what should employees do right now?
Right now, my expectation is that these employees are going to have to be reinstated according to the judge's order, even if the administration, as you say, appeals the action. So employees should get ready to go back to work. However, and this was referenced in the California judge's ruling, it doesn't mean that their job security is permanent, because these firings of probationary workers were what's called reduction in force, done in a different way, trying to shortcut around the rules that apply to reductions in force in the federal government. So our expectation is that the administration likely will pursue that avenue at some point, and for that reason. So these employees have to brace themselves for that, would be my recommendation, to marshal their good reviews, their contacts at their jobs, make sure they can stay in touch with folks that they want to stay in touch with, collect any positive messages they've received, emails commending them for their work, and awards. I imagine many of them lost access to their systems at work, and they should be regaining that access soon, and marshal all those documents when they can.
This is a bit of a work whiplash, if you will. Let's say an employee gets reinstated but chooses not to go back to work. What happens then?
It depends on how the employee goes about doing that. If that employee wishes to resign, they can do that. They can do that by email, a 1-sentence email to the human resources contact at their agency. If they simply don't report to work after having been reinstated, there could be all kind of implications for that, being absent without leave, or things of that nature. But as I say, if I were in their shoes, I'd want to report back to work, at least for the time being, to get, as I say, any paper trail they have of the work they've done, so that they can pursue new opportunities going forward.
Okay, Katie Watson, thank you so much for joining us. Again, if you are an employee who's getting reinstated, Katie is suggesting going back to work and collecting any documentation of your accolades as you can. Katie, thanks for joining us.
Thanks very much.